Hey guys, we are back and I finally have an update on my wrist. It's been like 7 months since my last update, pretty ridiculous, but finally have some news, a little bit of news, not a whole big news, but we're going to do a bit of a recap here. And when I say a bit, it's going to probably be a long one because, as you may have noticed if you've seen my videos, I do not know how to express myself in a timely manner. So let's get right to it. A year ago, April of 2024, I had to stop doing my Time to Death Plays Vid Games video series. I started a year prior to that, even I think it was 13 or 14 months prior. I did 400 days in a row, 400 videos. Each video was averaged over 3 hours long. I played over 2,000 WODs, 2,000 Doom WODs, and I had to stop last year because pain in my left wrist. And so, I was doing a bunch of Googling, trying to see what the problem was, Googling the symptoms, and it seemed like I had either carpal tunnel syndrome or tendonitis. That's what it seemed like to me. And so I thought, reading what it told you to do, I just have to stop doing this. I have to stop playing Doom. I have to stop playing guitar. I have to stop playing drums. And so I'm going to stop doing all those things because I was also releasing a 30-minute album each month. So January, February, and March. And so this happened in April. So I had already done 3 months in a row. And so I stopped doing all of those things. And I was going to stop doing it for a month. So I did that, no change. And so I'm like, oh shit. Okay, so let's do it for another month. And so I do it again for another month, not doing any of those things. And once again, no change. So I'm like, okay, shit. Now I actually have to go see a doctor. And, I haven't been to a family doctor since I was 10 when I had my tonsils taken out. I don't like going to the doctor. I don't think anyone does. And I've managed to go this long without going to see a doctor. I've been to the hospital a couple times, but like family doctor, I haven't had one since I was 10. So I didn't have a doctor at the time, so I went to the ER. The ER doctor thought I had carpal tunnel syndrome. She did some tests on me, and she thought that I had carpal tunnel syndrome. So, within a couple days, finally got hooked up with a family doctor. I go to see him, and he orders an ultrasound on my left wrist. And so by the time the ultrasound takes place, my right wrist is starting to have the same symptoms. Originally, it was just my left wrist, but then my right wrist is having the same symptoms. So I have the ultrasound on my left wrist. It shows that I have an abnormal median nerve in my wrist. So it was basically enlarged. Now, the ultrasound image of my wrist, of the median nerve, it looked normal. I mean, when you Google median nerve wrist, carpal tunnel, ultrasound image, you get all these results and they all look deformed, but mine looked normal. It was an oval. It didn't look weird. It was just enlarged. And then so I ended up getting the ultrasound on my right wrist as well. And it showed the same thing. I had an abnormal median nerve in my right wrist as well. It wasn't quite as big as my left one, but both of them were abnormal. So, my doctor said, okay, well, that means you have carpal tunnel syndrome. I mean, Google that, abnormal median nerve in wrist, and it just comes up carpal tunnel syndrome. Every single result, basically. And so I'm like, okay, I have carpal tunnel syndrome. And so he said, since you're young, you just wear your braces at night for 2 months, and then hopefully the symptoms will be reversed by then. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I do that, even though I'd already waited 2 months before I went to see the doctor. I'm like, okay, whatever. I do that. No change after 2 months. And so I go back and I'm bugging him to get the surgery. I want to get the surgery. And so he orders the surgery. However, before you can get the surgery, you have to get a nerve conduction study / EMG test. And so now I'm on the waiting list to do that. It was getting pretty ridiculous, but I managed to find a place that would do it in a more timely fashion. So I only had to wait like 2 weeks, I think, which was very nice because originally the waiting list was like 3 months. Okay, so I go do that and it comes back negative, meaning I don't have carpal tunnel syndrome. And so now I go back to my doctor. He doesn't know what's wrong with me. And so I'm like, what? And so he thinks, okay, well, another possibility could be arthritis. So he sets me up with a rheumatologist appointment. But that is 5 months into the future. So the thing about Canada, you get put on these waiting lists. Yeah, you have free healthcare, but you get put in these gigantically long waiting lists. So now I'm like getting like really depressed because I can't do anything with my wrist, because I'm wearing my braces 24/7. I can't lift anything. I can't push or pull or twist, or else it becomes painful. And so I'm getting really depressed because I don't know what's wrong with me, and I don't know if it's ever going to be if it's ever going to get better. I'm Googling like suicide methods, and I haven't done that in a long time. And you just have to keep up to date on the potentially new techniques. And by the way, Google, you are horrible. Your search results are horrible for that. 0 out of 10 stars. Garbage. And so I have to wait 5 months. And so I'm just, stewing, not knowing what I'm going to do. And then, I started hearing about this whole body MRI. One of the doctors I talked to mentioned getting an MRI on the wrist, but he said that, there's a 4-month-long waiting list. And so, however, I knew someone who had a whole body MRI. This is one that you have to pay for. And so if you get that, and if you also have a requisition form for like an MRI that's covered by like the Canada's healthcare, so one you get for free, you might be able to get them done at the same time so that you don't have to be stuck on the waiting list, the months-long waiting list. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to try and do that. But the whole body MRI is over $3,000, so it's kind of it's an investment, and there's no guarantee that it's going to find anything either. So, but eventually I'm like, okay, whatever. I have to do it because I don't know what else to do, and so I do that. And they're giving me the runaround. I also got the requisition forms for my wrist, so to get the MRIs on my wrist. So the thing about the whole body MRI, it doesn't scan below the elbows and it doesn't scan below the knees. And overall, it's like a low resolution scan. Whereas the area specific MRIs, like if I were to get my wrist scanned, it's high resolution. There's more detail and stuff. But I'm getting a little dizzy here, walking around in circles. But anyway, I do that. I get the whole body MRI. They're giving me the runaround because I want to get my wrist scanned at the same time, so I don't have to wait for 4 months. And they're giving me the runaround. They're not giving me an answer on that. And so I had to postpone the whole body MRI because there was a snowstorm. And I think it was the next day, the clinic called me and they said, okay, I have your dates for your wrist MRI. And I'm like, okay. And then they said it's 5 months, not 5 months, 3 months into the future. So this happened a couple months ago. And so my appointment is in May. And so I remember getting the phone call. I'm just like absolutely defeated. I'm like, what? I said, I got to wait even longer. And I was defeated is the exact word I would use. But whatever, what can you do, right? So now I still have the whole body MRI to look forward to. Maybe it'll find something that's wrong with me. I don't know, but whatever. Just pay the $3,000 and hopefully something happens. So I do that. I go do the whole body MRI. By the way, this is my first MRI. It was actually awesome. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Now, I've seen it on TV in the movies before. You get put into this tube and it scans you. But the cool thing about it was the sounds that the machine makes. It makes these strange sounds, and it's like you're in like a sci-fi movie from the 60s or from the 50s. It was so cool. And so that was honestly the best part of it. Now, before you go in there, they make a big deal in the paperwork that you have to fill out before you do it about how, they ask you if you have claustrophobia and all this sort of stuff. Apparently apparently people freak out when they go inside. I don't think I have claustrophobia. I didn't have any problem with it. And it was actually a really cool thing. So they give you a couple options, like if you want to listen to music while you're in the tube, or if you want to do nothing, or if you want to watch a movie. I opted for the movie. And so what they did, they put this mirror like above my head. And so I'm like lying down in the tube and I'm looking up, and then my vision gets reflected like back through the tube. And so I'm looking out through the tube now at the TV screen or whatever. However, you know, even if you had claustrophobia, I feel like you should put the mirror above you, because when I was looking at it, it's like I wasn't even in the tube at all, because I was looking straight out the opening of the tube, and it was basically just like I was sitting in the tube, but I wasn't deep inside. You know what I mean? Because I could see I was basically looking through the opening of the tube. Anyway, it was really cool. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's still too much for people to freak out over if you have claustrophobia. I don't know. Anyway, so I do that. I ended up watching they ended up showing me some nature documentary about sperm whales that was narrated by Sigourney Weaver. It was actually, there were some parts that were really gross and really inappropriate. There was a couple really inappropriate lines that I wish I could remember, because it was really bad. But, so I watched that. So I do that, and then I don't forget how long, it didn't take that long to get my results, which was really nice. It did find a couple things. One of them I already mentioned, it was my spleen was enlarged. So I had mild splenomegaly. I don't know what that apparently that's a symptom of something else. They also found something else, which I'm not going to talk about yet. I will talk about that in the future if it does get fixed. Anyway, so the whole point of this video, this is not the update yet. So finally, my rheumatologist appointment comes up, because, you know, this was 5 months go by, and finally it's time for my rheumatology appointment. So, I mean, by this time, I'm just like, I'm so over it, like the pain and not being able to use my wrist and all that sort of stuff. And I'm over the idea of there being any progress on my wrist. And so, you know, when I go into the rheumatologist clinic for my appointment, I'm fully just like, I've been conditioned to just expect nothing to happen. I fully expected him to just like look at me and say, "What the hell are you doing in my office? You know, you don't have arthritis. Like, fuck off, you piece of shit faggot." That's what I thought he was going to tell me, because that's what I've been conditioned to think over these last several months. And so I go in fully expecting nothing to happen, and he finds stuff. He found signs of arthritis, and he diagnosed me with chronic inflammation. So I'm already on, like, I take prescription anti-inflammatory. I've been doing that ever since like a year. And I'm on the highest one. And I still have inflammation apparently in my joints and like everywhere. So, and I'm 144 pounds. I don't smoke or drink. So, but yeah, he finds that. And so now he wasn't able to give me a final diagnosis. So I basically have to wait another 3 months because if it's a viral infection, it could be a viral infection that's causing the inflammation. And so apparently a viral infection will like flush out of your system in 3 months, 12 weeks. Even though this has been happening for a year, you know, it's the first time I saw him, so he had no baseline. So I have to wait another 3 months, which honestly, I don't care about waiting anymore. Just the fact that he was able to tell me something that was wrong with me, because my previous doctor, he literally said he doesn't know what's wrong with me. And so that's not what you want to hear when you go to the doctor for something. And so this guy, he was able to, you know, he was doing a bunch of tests. He was, you know, but he was pushing on my joints and stuff like this. And he said he found fluid he was able to feel fluid in my knees. And it's kind of funny because I had problems when I was a kid with fluid in my knees. And I had various problems since I was a kid that apparently haven't gone away. It's kind of funny. But I think he said there were signs of oligoarthritis, whatever that is. Anyway, I have to wait another 3 months. Then I have to go back and get some more ultrasounds on my hands and my hands and my fingers. I have to get some x-rays on my hands and fingers. I guess the ultrasounds are like all over my body. So elbow, knee, foot, et cetera. And then I mentioned the x-rays on my hands. I have to get an x-ray on my chest in case it's a respiratory disease. And what else I have to get blood tests. So, but if it is an infection, when she was talking about infections, and that would make sense, because what the whole body MRI found, if that's the cause of all of this, that would be insane, because I'm going to talk about that in the future if it gets fixed, but I've had that problem for at least 10 years. I've been dealing with that for 10 years, and I never told anyone because it's in a sensitive area, and it's very embarrassing. And so if that does get, I still have to go see my doctor, and we're going to talk about the whole body MRI results, hopefully this week. And so I might have to get surgery for that. I don't care about that. Because if it'll get it out of here and out of my life, then that would be great. And if that also fixes the inflammation problem, then that would be even better. So I'm very optimistic. That's still not a guarantee that my wrists are going to get better, but at least, I have some sort of knowledge on what the problem is. And so hopefully, I'm still only 42, so I'm relatively young. So hopefully this can get sorted out. Anyway, so I'll have another update eventually. And hopefully one day I can start playing Doom again, start playing music again. So until next time.